You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing, daily, hopefully. Hello, you're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. It's emergency podcast time again. And I thought I would, as I say, I seem to have got into a habit in these of talking about TV shows that I like. And the last two shows I've talked about comedy that I like, and I'm going to continue in that vein today. The first show I want to mention that I absolutely adore is a series originally written by Rowan Atkinson and Richard... I've forgotten his name, Curtis. That was the first series. And then Ben Elton and Richard Curtis took over the writing duties for the next three series. And of course talking about The Blackadder, which returned as Blackadder 2, Blackadder the Third, and Blackadder Goes Forth. Now it's unique for comedy because it's set in different time periods. It doesn't feel like it's aged in the way that some stuff has, because obviously they're all in period costume, so you don't look at it and go, blimey, those 80s clothing were absolutely hideous. And it's got some wonderful writing. Now the first series is it's good. I mean, I really like it. It isn't as funny as the later ones. What's interesting is a lot more expensive, so there's a lot more location filming, stuff literally shot on film. You had enormous sets to represent the castle, big old cast, much bigger cast. Very, very good show, but it had to be cheaper. And when it came back, it was more of a traditional sitcom with a handful of sets, and then some, they'd build some sets each week, but it was mainly, Blackadder's house, the Queen's chambers and stuff like that. They were the main sets used on the show. It's very funny. Like I say, it's aged extremely well. It's got some great acting. I mean, Baldrick is just a wonder. He's a stupid character, but he's a wonderful character. So if you've never seen The Blackadder or any of its iterations, I absolutely recommend it. They did like a comic relief special one year called Blackadder the Cavalier Years, and they also did a Christmas special which was a take on A Christmas Carol but backwards. So it starts off with Blackadder being the nicest person in the world, and then Hagrid comes through his wall and shows him excerpts of the past and future, and suddenly Blackadder becomes the horrible old bastard that we know and love. But it literally is Hagrid. Go and watch it. It's terrific. Another show I really, really like is Father Ted. Now, it's such a shame what's happened to... I can't remember if it's one of the writers or the single writer. I can't remember if Father Ted was written by one person. But the writer has decided to take on a pro-feminist, anti-trans stance. Now, I think everybody's entitled to their opinion, but then when he starts calling anybody who... Oh, just go and read up on him, Gremlin, and I'm not going to say what it is in case I'm libeling or whichever one it is. But just read up on him. He's effectively destroyed his own career by expressing these opinions. And it's a shame because he's a very talented writer, but personally, I find his opinions inexcusable and intolerant. Of course, there are other people that argue the other side, that actually all he's doing is sticking up for what he believes are real women. Anyway, we don't want to get into that. Father Ted is an extremely funny show. It centres around three priests living in Ireland, and they're just basically stupid. And it's just exceedingly funny. It's got a reasonably small central cast. So you've got Father Ted, Dougal. That was a bit of a... The series ended early because the actor who played Ted died a few days after they shot the final episode. I don't know if it was meant to be the final episode. It was the final episode of that series, but yeah. And they just live together and silly things happen, and it's hard to describe because, again, they don't really have stories. They just have silly situations. I think it's a very good example of a situation comedy. I think they made 4 series of it. It's very, very funny. There's one bit with a priest getting lost in the women's underwear section of a department store. It's so silly. Final show I'm going to talk about today. There's a couple of shows, actually, but they're sort of linked. The Day Today and Brass Eye. So The Day Today was made, I think, in the 90s. It stars Chris Morris and Steve Coogan and various other people that you will definitely recognise. I think Rebecca Front's in there. And it's so The Day Today is a spoof news programme, TV news programme. And it's so cleverly done that if you muted it and just left it on in the background, the way the graphics are done, the way it's presented, you would think it was a real news programme unless you were absolutely concentrating on physically what you were seeing on the screen. And yet the concepts, the stuff they talk about are absolutely ludicrous. I really, really like it. It's very clever. It's very funny. I think it was the main televisual introduction to Alan Partridge, as well as a not very good sports reporter. Now, linked to that series is a thing called Brass Eye. Well, it's not linked. It shares Chris Morris presenting it. So Chris Morris is the main presenter on The Day Today. I don't know if it's meant to be the same character, but he is the main presenter on Brass Eye. Brass Eye is a spoof documentary series. It's genius. It got into a lot of trouble, but it's genius. So, for example, they wanted to. One of the things they were commenting on is how that famous people will jump on the bandwagon, anything that makes them look good. So the production team invented a drug called cake, and then got a load of celebrities to join in a video campaign against it. And I mean, they got absolutely loads. Noel Edmonds was one, and he, oddly enough, being someone who at the time was involved, part of his shtick was setting people up for a laugh, for some reason he didn't find it very funny when somebody set him up. So you literally had they asked an MP about this stuff, and he ended up talking about this drug that the production team had invented in the House of Commons. There's actually a record in Hansard about this invented drug. It's absolutely wonderful. The final, so they made 6 episodes, and the final episode was a special about paedophilia, and it was all about the how can I put this? It was all about the media shitstorm created by paedophilia, and it created the shitstorm that it was talking about, which personally, so when it was transmitted, everybody said it was in very, very poor taste. It is in poor taste, but I do think it makes some valid points. I mean, there's one bit where they're going, oh, this is a paedophile disguised as a school. It's just ludicrous. It couldn't really happen. It's got a picture of a school chasing a kid down the street. I mean, it's ludicrous. But again, they got Gary Lineker involved. He was talking about this invention called Trust Me trousers, which are trousers that are quite wide and baggy and hide arousals and stuff. But he fell for it, and he went for it, and he talked about it. It's a genius program. As I say, it did create a massive shitstorm with that final episode, which I think was the point. I literally think they created the kind of shitstorm they were satirising, which I believe was the intention. It's genius. So The Day Today and Brass Eye, wonderful shows. Recommend them both. Have a bit of a strong stomach when it comes to Brass Eye. The bit where I won't keep giving examples. Just have a look. Anyway, I've gone over my allotted time. I'll be back with another emergency podcast at some point down the line, and hopefully tomorrow back with a regular one. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my Linktree at linktr.ee/Richard Wright, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.